Hello girls, gays, and non-binary babes. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Boston. Today we are talking about my favorite queer books. So I made this video last year, the first iteration of it, and I think it's time to update. I'm not sure if I will or not, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to private the older video. Just because, I don't know, something with my older videos, like, I just don't like them. So yeah, I might private it so that you only get to see this one. I don't know yet, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about my favorite queer books. I have a really exciting list, and I have a lot, or the majority of them, you might not have heard of. So yeah, I'm really excited. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first one is one that you may have heard of before, but that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This one has been a favorite of mine since I first read it a few years ago, and I think it'll always be on this list. It's just so incredible and well-rounded, I think I would say. This is about a girl whose sister goes to make a mockumentary on mermaids in the Mariana Trench, and the whole crew is never found. I think their boat is found, but they are never found. So she goes on like a recovery mission years later to try and figure out what happened, and turns out there are killer mermaids in the Mariana Trench. And it's just so incredible. If you like horror, you'll like this one, or sci-fi, I guess. But I just love mockumentaries and cryptids, so this was right up my alley. And honestly, the representation in here is just incredible. Like, I want this to be baseline for everything. We have deaf characters that use ASL, we have disabled characters, queer characters, fat characters. Like, it's amazing. And I feel like it's sad to say, like, it's sad to talk about how exciting that is in this book because we so rarely see that. And so yeah, I just really like this one, and this one will always be a favorite of mine. Next up, we have one that I read very recently, and that is the Iliac Crest. This is by Cristina Rivera Garza, translated by Sarah Booker. So I think this was originally in Spanish, correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a short little novella, and it is about a man who is living on, like, I imagined it as like a cliff next to the ocean. I don't know if that, I can't remember if that's actually how it's supposed to be. But one night he's visited by two women, one who he used to date and one he's never met before, a complete stranger. And it's pitched as like over the course of a night, or it made us seem like over the course of a night they like harass him and say like, we know your deepest secret. And it's much more than that. It goes very, very deep, and it's very eye-opening, I guess. I mean, for a lot of people, for me it was like, this makes a lot of sense, like I love this. But for a lot of people, I think it would be eye-opening, because the characters that invade this man's house are like, we know your biggest secret, you were born a woman. And so this man kind of goes insane trying to prove why he's not a woman, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is incredible. If you're interested in like gender theory, I don't know if that makes, like, if that's what this would be, but if you're interested in like how gender works and is different than you think, I don't know, then pick this one up because it's so incredible. It's written so well, and it's just amazing, and it's a new favorite of mine, and I think it always will be. It's just wonderful. Next up, we have A Dowry of Blood. Everybody's heard of this one, I'm sure, but I as somebody who does not like romance, I mean, I wouldn't call this a romance, but I don't really like stories that focus on a love story of sorts, but I freaking loved this. This is an anti-romance. I can't remember who originally said that about this book, but it's so true. It's an anti-romance, and it's dark and gothic and absolutely incredible. So if you don't know, if you're living under a rock, A Dowry of Blood is basically about this woman who is writing a bunch of letters to her former husband, who we know from the very beginning that she has killed. It's like a Dracula, like vampire kind of sort of situation. And the characters in this, there are 4 of them that are in a polyamorous relationship together. And first of all, can I just say how cool it is to see that in like a mainstream kind of book? Like, I think this was originally indie published, but it's now like being traditionally published and all that stuff. It's so interesting to see like that kind of thing become really popular. Anyway, it's incredible. I love the dynamics and the darkness, even though like can't really relate to it. It's definitely one of those almost good for her books, and I just really love this one. So yeah, definitely pick this up if you haven't read it, and if you haven't read it because you're not fond of romance, pick it up anyway, because I think you'll like it. Alrighty, next up we have a series, or a bunch of companion books, novellas, if you will, and that would be The Empress of Salt and Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Niveau. The next book is coming out very soon, Into the Riverlands. I'm so excited. But anyway, I digress. The Empress of Salt and Fortune, I read a few years ago when it first, I actually got an ARC for it when it first came out, and oh my, I fell in love instantly. It was just so beautifully written, incredible. It's so wise and just so powerful. I just love it. So basically this one is about this non-binary cleric. I believe it doesn't really give any information on the back because that's not really what the story is about. So this non-binary cleric goes to this old woman's house and is being told a story, and this is the story of the Empress of Salt and Fortune and her life and how things ended up for her. And it's, like I said, I don't want to give a whole lot away, but it's just so powerful and just well written. And the second book follows that same cleric who goes into the mountains. It's been a minute since I read this one, so bear with me. Goes into the mountains and is met with a bunch of tigers, and basically the tigers say, "We are going to kill you and eat you unless you tell us a really good story," which sounds kind of weird, but you know, it's this fantasy world, whatever. So this cleric has to storytell their way out of this situation, and it's just incredible. I just love this series, and it's just amazing, and it's so underrated. So if you haven't picked them up yet, highly would recommend. Also, I mean, these covers are gorgeous. They're like 100 and some pages each, 120 pages. I mean, you can't go wrong, right? So yeah. Next is a series that I have loved for a long time, and that is Every Heart a Doorway by Sean McGuire. This is part of the Wayward Children series. I would bring out the whole series, but it's a lot of books, so sorry. I think right now we're up to 6, maybe, with the 7th coming in January-ish. But yes, I have all of them, and I'm not bringing them all out. But this is the first book, and I don't think I can say enough about this series. I think it's definitely getting the love that it deserves now, but it's still pretty underrated. This book in particular was not all that underrated, but when the next book started coming out, I think it got a little bit more, I don't know, like people just lost interest, I guess, and I don't know why, because they're super short, they're so magical, and it's like Narnia, or like Alice in Wonderland, but it's like for adults, So it's an adult series, but it's about these kids who find these doorways to different worlds, and it's kind of like a series where you can let your inner child just roam free. It's really fun. There are darker aspects, which make it adult, obviously, but this one is not quite that, I would say. I'll give you what that's about in a second, but the rest of the series, for the most part, is just so magical and whimsical, is what I would say. And we follow all sorts of different characters, and it's by Sean McGuire, which the first book I had, Into the Drowning Deep, Mira Grant, same person. So we get a lot of great representation, and I just love that. This one in particular is about the School for Wayward Children. In general, we get an introduction to it and how these children came here and who runs it, but there's also murders happening, and we're trying to solve that at the same time. So it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it if you haven't read the series. If you haven't started it, I would say read this one, and I'd say read like 3 or 4, honestly, before you get discouraged if you really don't like it. I don't know. The 4th one, in my opinion, is the best one, In an Absent Dream, but I don't know. I feel like they're all so different that there's something for everybody. And I genuinely don't understand how you could not like this series. So maybe I'm just a little crazy, but yeah. And finally, would this be a favorites list without They Never Learn by Lane Fargo? If you know me, if you've been on this channel before, you've heard of this one. I think this one's gaining some traction on Book Talk. I'm not sure. I'm not really on Book Talk, but oh my god, y'all. If you have not read this yet, you need to. This is a dark academia book following 2 points of view. One is a student at the school and, you know, her life, what happens to her, things like that. And then there is this teacher at this school, this professor. And she has seen the way students can be, particularly male students. And she takes it upon herself to do some revenge killing. And not revenge on her part, like on other girls' parts. So obviously, trigger warning for sexual assault and anything like that, murder or whatever. But honestly, this is just so incredible. It's incredibly well done. The twist at the end was wonderful. Loved it. I need to reread this, honestly. But it's just so, if you like revenge, female revenge stories, good for her stories, this is like at the top of that list, and you need to read it. You need to read it is all I will say. So yeah, definitely a favorite. Has always been, will always be on this list. So that is my list of queer favorites. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know, please let me know your favorite queer books down below. I am so interested. I love getting new recommendations and all that good stuff. So yeah, leave a comment, say hi if you want, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.